slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest
ever
moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
This is the creator of Dilbert, Scott Adams. He gave white people advice on what to do in life. This is what he said.
Yes, nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people.
As somebody who grew up with a racist, angry father, I am in full agreement with you. There is a very big reason why, if you know me, you know that I don't date white men. It is just not something I do. My own father put a horrible taste in my mouth for white men, and I will never understand my own father.
Welcome to another Global Vibes Network video. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has tuned into the channel so far. I really appreciate it. But in today's video, we're going to show how some white people in the United States are exposing other white people for their racism, their white privilege, and everything that they think are entitled to them. Now, sometimes you have to live in the United States. If you haven't lived in the United States and experienced racism in the United States, because it's on another level, and wherever country you may live at this time in the world, you may have experienced racism in some way, form, or fashion. But when you live in the United States as a black person and have to encounter racism and certain things that comes with white people on a regular basis, then you truly understand where I'm coming from. So I want you to sit back, relax, give this video a thumbs up, and after the video you can leave a comment in the comment section. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And with no further delay, my people, let's hop right into the video.
This is the creator of Dilbert, Scott Adams. He gave white people advice on what to do in life. This is what he said.
Yes, nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people. That's a hate group. The best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. You just have to escape. So that's what I did. I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population.
Stay away from black people, is what he said. Move to places where there's no black people. So my question is, white people, what are you going to do?
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut. Yeah. Right? Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest
ever
moment in history for any brown or black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
Let me tell you about what black people suffered through after those white men's ships arrived on their shores. They got hundreds of years of enslavement, oppression, abuse, torture, murder, rape. Not only did black former slaves get nothing after emancipation, President Andrew Johnson, a white Southerner, he made certain that white enslavers were made whole. Reparations, but not for former slaves, reparations for rich white slave owners. After the Civil War, blacks were kept poor, systematically poor, and with almost zero ability to grow wealth. Thousands of black prisoners were leased by southern states to former white enslavers in what were called convict leases, where blacks, again,
As somebody who grew up with a racist, angry father, I am in full agreement with you. There is a very big reason why, if you know me, you know that I don't date white men. It is just not something I do. My own father put a horrible taste in my mouth for white men, and I will never understand my own father. The man who is half of me, the man who created me, was filled with such hate and such rage. And One of the things I don't think I will ever forget is the time my sister was dating a black guy, and he took one of his bullets. He wrote the guy's name on it. He set it on a shelf in our house, and he told her, "You make sure if he walks in my front door, he sees that bullet waiting for him." That was my own father. That's the man I grew up with. I mean, until he left and didn't look back because he chose alcohol over his children and wife. But that's a whole nother story. But I agree with you. And there are people who comment and say, oh, you can't lump us all together. You can't do this. You can't do that. I'm basing this on my pure life experience with my own family and what I went through growing up into my young adult life. There is a very big reason I feel the way I do, and a very big reason I am not like my father. So it's one of those things that can go either they're following in the footsteps or they're going the complete opposite. And I'm thankful that I went the opposite way. It's embarrassing how my own dad was, and I can't change it, but at least I can speak up now. And try to help how I can.
Story of white privilege from a white Republican woman. Oh, this is about to piss a lot of you off. I see a lot of my friends in the comments talking about how white privilege doesn't exist. But it does. And I can speak on it firsthand. And the reason is I had a black child in my home. Quick story time. My son's best friend, both of his parents were incarcerated. He was a mixed child, white mother, black dad. The parents of the mother, one was a cop, one was a physician, did not want to take him. He was at risk for going into the system, into foster care. And so my, at the time, husband, not my current husband, we filed for a temporary, not custody, but it was like a temporary guardianship. So he could ride the bus from our house, we could call the school, make changes to his schedule, and so on. This child was, at glance, black. He did not look Caucasian at all, even though he was half Caucasian. He attended school with my son, and once he was in my home, I noticed very, very quickly how differently he was treated. Not just by the teachers and the administrators at the school, but also by the police in our town. Yes, I live in a town that is primarily white. A lot of things that I never would have believed occurred and happened to people happened to this young man. And it was a stark contrast. Now, I know from firsthand experience, I've had a lot of different kinds of experiences being in the Marines and a very diverse culture in the Marines, all walks of life, all skin colors. Just, I've been a lot of places, in a lot of spaces, seen a lot of people, been around a lot of races. And I never believed in white privilege. I thought your experience in the world is what you make of it. And for the most part, I do believe that is true. However, two things can be true at once. I do believe that we create our world and our experiences, but I do believe that there's merit to white privilege. And I think that the experience that I have is not always the same as a person that is melanated has, especially young people. Because they're not as in control of their environment and the conversations and the way that those conversations go and so on. They're vulnerable. And adults, I believe, took advantage of situations, in the case with this young man that I was caring for, because he was brown. Things that were said to him that happened, that I know for a fact happened to him, that would have never happened to my son, that never happened to my son. So, I want you to remember something. When you say boldly on the internet that white privilege doesn't exist, I want you to remember the middle-aged Republican white lady telling you it does. It does. It does exist. It is very much a thing.
So I did a video the other day responding to a white woman who was upset because I do videos where I say, white women, watch this video. And she was upset that I called her white. They don't like to be called white all of a sudden. Well, anyway, this lady decides that she's going to stitch my video. Watch this. Is there another name?
How about you call me by my name? Hi, my name is Charlene. Nice to meet you.
How the fuck do I know what your name is? Do I know you? Do you know me? Do you even know what my real name is? How the fuck do I know what your name is? If I'm talking to the entire demographic of white people, if I'm talking to white women as a whole, I'm not gonna say everybody's fucking name. But continue on.
Are we being racist much?
So me calling you a white woman is racist?
Are you black women? Is that what you want me to call you? Do you want me to call you black all the time?
And I don't care if you call me a black woman. I am a black woman, and I'm proud to be a black woman. But if a person was talking to the demographic of black women, I'm not going to sit here and be like, call me by my name, even though you're talking to thousands of people that are on TikTok that follow you and watch your content. But make sure you call me by my name, Goddess Mia. Fuck out of here.
I think you want me to respect you as a woman and call you by the name that you were given by God.
My name wasn't given to me by God. It was given to me by my mom. She gave me my name, and I'm very proud of it. What the fuck? But there's more.
Let's not be racist and let's grow up.
The only person that needs to grow up is you. This black woman is telling you, white woman, that your whole white fragility is showing all over this video. I'm gonna call you white because that's the social construct that your people put out here, not me.
Get back to me if you want to.
Do you think I'm hot or something? Why are you winking at me and shit? Get at me. What is that? You have a good day. Remember that diversity equal power. We can change the world when we work together and protect black women. Until next time. Get at me if you really want to.
So here's the thing that a lot of white folks in the United States are trying to do. When it comes to racism, they don't want us as black people to speak about racism. They want to act as if it didn't exist. They want to sweep it under the rug, like if we talk about it, we're doing something wrong. Like, why are y'all bringing up racism? And that's long gone. But if racism is a thing that exists and slavery is a thing that exists, then we bear witness to it. We're not going to hide it. We're going to speak about it and keep it in the forefront. Because one thing about us as black people, we don't want no black Americans and no black people around the world to forget about the atrocities that was put on black people by the slave masters. So let's bear witness to that. And if some of these other white people would talk about it and acknowledge all of these stuff, I think the country would be in a better place. But because they try to hide it and downplay it, then a lot of the things that you see is going on in this country is a reason for that. But let's continue and hear what some more people have to say.
If you don't understand what came before, you can't really make sense out of what you're seeing right now. He was especially critical of the way that white Americans often had this sort of hagiographic, horribly inaccurate understanding of our history and how it affected our ability to understand the world that we perceived. This is what he said over half a century ago, speaking of white folks. He said, people who imagine that history flatters them, as it does indeed since they wrote it, are impaled on their history like a butterfly on a pin and become incapable of seeing or changing themselves or the world. This is where it appears most white Americans find themselves today, impaled. They are dimly or perhaps even vividly aware that the history they have fed themselves is mainly a lie.
If you do nothing else today, I urge you to watch the following all the way through. It is one of the best explanations of white privilege I have ever heard.
I am white, and on both sides of my family, we do not have any massive generational wealth. My mom's father is the only one of my 4 grandparents who we got any sort of generational wealth inherited from. And 99% of the wealth that we inherited from my grandfather was from selling his house. My grandfather was born in 1926 in rural North Carolina, and he was a 6'3" white man with blue eyes. Other than being white, my grandfather didn't have that many privileges. He was one of like 7 children. His mom didn't even get to high school level education, and his dad never went to college. They were not privileged in most other ways that we define privilege, but he was a white male in a very, very racist country. What his whiteness allowed him to do was work his way through college. At the time, there were colleges that weren't accepting black people, and he was accepted to college as long as he could pay for it. And he ended up getting a law degree and becoming very successful. And again, never hoarded any significant wealth, but bought a house outside of Washington, D.C. in the 50s. In a neighborhood that was redlined. And actually, my mom, who was born in the 60s, remembers in the 70s when the first black family moved into their neighborhood, because it had literally been sectioned off and realtors would not sell to black families. And my mom, who is 58 years old, went to a year of segregated school. So for all of you saying it was so long ago, everyone has equal rights now, get over it. My mom remembers when the first black student joined her class in the 70s in Alexandria, Virginia. In 2015, my grandfather died, and we sold his house that he bought for around $100,000 in the 50s, and we sold it for $1 million. That money was divided among his children, and my family was able to get out of a lot of debt, and it completely reset my ability to go to private versus public school, my ability to afford tutors, my ability to become the educated person that I am. And it was all really because I have a white grandfather. Let me finish. Had my grandfather been black and had all of the other skills and background that he had, he couldn't have gone to the schools that he went to, he wouldn't have been hired in the jobs that he was, and he couldn't have bought the house that he did, that, 65 years later, put his family out of debt. So if anyone tries to tell you it's not that deep, it really is that deep. It goes so far back. Any small privilege that a white person has is probably, to some degree, due to their whiteness. And if you are a white person who has roots in the South, you definitely should have white guilt, and you definitely should be doing the work to understand how your privilege affects the people around you and how you can help level the playing field. And everyone tried to get all particular about these specific situations where a black person might have a privilege or a woman might have a privilege over a man. Those are isolated situations you're bringing up. We're talking about large-scale, mass, systematic issues. Now, yeah, legally, black people and white people should have the same exact rights and privileges. But they're playing catch up, because if my family, like I said, had been black, we would never have gotten out of debt in 2015. I would never have been able to afford the school that I went to and live the lifestyle that I'm living right now.
Understand, for instance, the history, the predicate, what came before when it comes to the subject of law enforcement misconduct in black and brown communities, for instance, right? If you don't know that history because it was never taught to you, right, then a movement like Black Lives Matter won't make sense to you. If you don't understand the way that black life has been discounted and denigrated and has not mattered institutionally to an awful lot of folks, right, then somebody proclaiming that Black Lives Matter will seem irrational. It will seem horribly militant and separatist and maybe even hateful. And then you'll say things like, but what about my life? What about me? All lives matter, don't they? What about me? I know, precious, I know your life matters. I know my life. You don't have to tell me that all lives matter. I get that. I got 2 children. I got 2 teenagers. They're 15 and 13. They are white. That is what happens when white people make babies. You get white babies. They are white. I know that their lives matter. You don't have to tell me. I don't need a bumper sticker to remind me of the value of my own children's lives. The point is, every cop in this country also knows that my daughter's lives matter. And every teacher knows, and every employer knows, and every bank loan officer knows. That is to say, we don't have to specify about my daughters. Their lives and the value of their lives are taken for granted. You only got to specify that which gets routinely ignored. You only have to specify that which we tend to forget, because remember, white folks have a long history of saying all and not meaning it. We do. Thomas Jefferson, now, he's not representative of all white people, but I gather he's one of white people's favorite white people. Thomas Jefferson said, did he not, that all men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights, among these life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. There's that word all, as in all lives matter, all men are created equal. But when Thomas Jefferson wrote those words, he owned over 250 other human beings, so I'm guessing he didn't really mean it.
Let me tell you how great white privilege is, okay? I'm highly educated, highly experienced in mediation, law, and I applied to the federal government 160 times with one interview that I was interviewed by a African-American woman and a Hispanic male in South Carolina at the EEOC.
What does EEOC stand for? Equal Employment Opportunity Center? Is that what it means? Equal Opportunity Center? Equal Employment Opportunity Center? So basically, nobody should be discriminated against based off of race or gender or sexuality, I'm assuming, right? Makes sense.
That. I flew from Panama, the country, to Houston, to Kansas City, to Atlanta, Georgia, to South Carolina to be interviewed. And when I walked in for the interview, this is what happened. I walked in, sat down, an African woman came out, looked at me, didn't say a word to me, walked back into the office. Then when I went in for the interview, I sat down, and the African American woman and Hispanic male said, "We want to thank you for coming in for the interview." And I said, "Well, I appreciate the opportunity." She goes, "We're done." I said, "What do you mean we're done? Don't you want to ask me any questions about my experience, my skills?" "Nope, we're done." That was it. That was my interview, of which I didn't get hired. They hired an African-American woman with no experience who was a former flight attendant to take a job as a mediator.
So here's my thing. In order for us to move forward as a people, then we also got to be able to reflect on the past and know that the past exists and that it wasn't fiction. You know what I'm saying? It was real. So if we can't have dialogue about all these things that have took place and communicate in such a way where we both have understanding, no matter where you no matter where you're from, but to have some type of empathy and knowing that everything that happens is not new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. So let's not try to sugarcoat all of these stuff that we see happening, all the things that have took place in the past. Because the past is a part of our reality. The future hasn't gotten here yet. So the future is just a thought. It's an imagination. It's whatever you think and hoping it may be. But it hasn't got here yet. But the past was lived. The past is about our experience as a people. The past, it shows and highlights what we have been through as a people and all the things that we are able to endure as black people. See, there's nothing that we can't overcome. Because like we say, God made us special. And God made us special for a reason. So with that, my people, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Truly appreciate y'all if you have watched the video up to this point. I want to thank y'all so much, and I thank y'all for y'all support. And like I say, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please leave a comment in the comment section and click that notification bell so each time we upload a video, you'll be the first to be notified. And once again, I want to say thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.